I love going to the store, baby.
I love the store.
Ooh-wee. Don't even get me started.
Later?
Nope. Store's closed. No more store.
Store closed forever. No.
Yo,
Nightcap
man.
episode 1, Ryan.
My name is Ryan Marienthal of Cable City Studio, and you're listening to World Peas on 88.1 KZSC Santa Cruz.
Yay!
My name is Ryan Marienthal, arbiter of all truth and justice, and you're listening to World Peas on 88.1 KZSC Santa Cruz.
Boo.
That's good, though.
Boo. No, I will not be saying that. That definitely counts as plugola.
What?
If you say I'm the arbiter of all truth, that definitely violates some radio law.
Nah.
This is public radio.
You can be
can't say
egotistical on the radio all you want. It's the whole point of being a DJ.
You can, but you can't create a cult of personality on my show. You have to make your own.
My name is Ryan Marienthal. Join my cult of personality. You're listening to
That's
World Peas.
definitely plugola. You can't plug your cult of personality.
Oh,
Well, I realize important to this entire interview is I need to give the context of the way that I know you and what we do together. So that it's not just like, here's a random guy that I found.
Yeah, so I'm Ryan Marienthal. I'm just some random guy that she found on the street.
That's basically true.
So I was just sitting at the cafe one day reading Dostoevsky, and she happened to look over and think, "Wow, what a horrible looking fellow. He's
true.
probably a good musician because of how much of a loser he looks like." And so she came over and she said, "You want to be on this interview?" And I said, "No, comma, I hate you, comma." And then she started
followed
recording.
by nothing.
And here we are.
And here we are, yay! And
I've been happy ever since.
Yeah, it's beautiful if you think about it, but don't think about it.
Me and Cadence met in Cal Poly. Am I allowed to talk about MPU?
Yeah, you can talk about something, you just can't say come to this thing.
Oh, let's see. Me and Cadence met in Cal Poly.
Stop talking like that.
Me and Cadence met in Cal Poly's music club, MPU. The Music Production Union, about 2-something years ago, during a showcase where she was playing a song for the club and needed a drummer, and so I played songs behind it, or what the heck? I played drums behind it, and that was actually the exact first time we ever interacted.
Yes.
And then we started jamming a bit together, and then...
At what location?
In the parking garage. Behind the dorms, because that's where I had to practice for 2 years, and it was horrible.
And awesome.
And then we just kept playing music together, and then she became an MPU officer, and still an MPU 2 years later, and still recording music together. We started recording together in my tiny dorm apartment bedroom. We put the mattress up on the wall and the mattress topper up against the door. We had 2 square feet of space, but those recordings are now released, and I think that, and we're still recording, except now I have a much bigger studio and it's a lot more professional, and we both learned a lot more.
Yeah, we're actually recording today after this interview as well, so it's a real full circle moment, one could say, and it's especially, I think, indicative of how much both of us have changed and grown as artists, because 2.5 years ago I never would have asked Ryan for advice on anything. And we would not be conducting this interview. My respect for you has grown since. That's not true. I'm not putting that in the interview.
And I was thinking more along the lines of you've become less stubborn.
Do we think that's true?
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. I think I'm still really stubborn, but I think it can only go up from here. Anyways, I respect Ryan Marienthal greatly, and value his opinion on matters. What I wanted to ask you about specifically, if we're doing a retrospect on, it's 2 years ago now, probably exactly 2 years ago now, that we started recording for Sentimentalist.
Yeah.
It was probably this week, 2 years ago.
Oh, awesome.
And we are now in the, I would say, middle to final stages of making this album. I produce my music and write it. Ryan helps me record and mixes my music. There's a very collaborative process back and forth, even over I'm in Santa Cruz now, obviously. We're recording this currently in San Luis Obispo. Many Google Drive files are shared back and forth, and it has been a really interesting process. For where both of us had started, I had only ever recorded myself with my mics in a pretty, small scale way. I didn't release anything. And I, for months, would text you and then ghost you for another month, being like, can you help me with my EP? And you would be like, yeah, what do you want me to do? And then I wouldn't say anything because I didn't know. And I was just like, I need somebody else to help me probably, but I don't know how. And so then in the same vein of me being a beginner at that point, you hadn't really recorded any other artists before, lived in the PCV room that, we had to obviously figure out ways to accommodate recording. I think that just the sheer passion and excitement of making a project together was what carried us through that and made that seem so easy. Directly after that point, after the PCV recording days, I feel like we started encountering a lot more issues with just sending stuff back and forth with the creative process. I think that both of us, and especially me, had beginner's mind. I realized how much I didn't know, and it started freaking me out. Especially when we were trying to rap Sentimentalist, and I would be sending you stems where multiple things were on the same track, the bass and the egg shaker, and I didn't know that you needed to turn your stuff down. And sometimes you would just delete a whole portion of a song on accident and send it back to me and be like, oh, my bad. It was just getting stressful for a while. And then I think we've kind of rounded back out to at this point we both have a lot more under our belt skill set wise, and it's starting to become an easy process again. I wanted to know if you had any thoughts on that happening, why that happens, just what you think beginner's mind will do for you in creativity in general.
Yeah, I think being a beginner is just really hard. I think, honestly, it's really, really dangerous to be in that mindset, at least for a long time. I think I've encountered the most kind of fruitful creative times when I decide to stop being a beginner and I decide to progress and I decide to start caring and really, really caring. Mm-hmm. I think beginner's mind, everything is fun, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Because it feels really new and novel, and oh my god, I've never ever set up mics before. This is so cool. And that's fine, but it's so easy to get disheartened for a second after that when you set up mics for the 5th time and you go, this is getting boring now. Boring, or you notice maybe some of the things that you were doing wrong the first couple times. No, I really think it gets well, you learn once you've learned it, once you've done it 5 times, then it gets boring. I'm not doing anything new anymore. I'm not learning. I'm just doing this mechanically. But I really think as I've gotten better at mixing, what I realize is that there are times to learn, there's times to push yourself, but also it is a really great feeling to have a lot just be automatic. I know exactly how I'm gonna mix a lot of these songs just because it's one project. I've developed my workflow for these. I use similar plugins. I have a similar process to do the whole instrumental, do the vocals, and now that's just become kind of automatic to some extent and a little easy. Of course, I'm still listening, but I know exactly what to listen for. I know what I want out of this. That kind of intentionality is what's gained through not just being a beginner and being thrown into this world where you don't know if anything will work out, and you're just kind of chipping away at some big marble block with no idea of a sculpture under it. You're just man, I wonder what'll happen. Maybe you get lucky, kind of, and that's just so fun and kind of blissful. But really appreciating getting good at something and continuing it even when it becomes less chaotic and novel and new and crazy is really, really powerful. It becomes not a source of learning and inadequacy and conflict and struggle and all of this crazy stuff, but it becomes, at least for me, a great source of pride. you know, it's very prideful to, I am getting good at this.
Yeah.
I'm developing good skills. This is useful. I've put a lot of work into this. It is becoming easier because I've been practicing and devoted to this for a long time.
Yeah.
Even when I'm miking up drums in the same way for the 5th time, 6th band, something like that, it's not bad to do that. You know, there's always ways to learn, and you should keep pushing yourself to some extent. But we build up these skill sets, we build up these tool sets, and you just deploy your little tools when necessary, and knowing how to do that well is the right skill. I know where to deploy these skills that I have, even though each of those skills maybe are being less developed or you've just practiced them so much. I think that's what's really amazing. It allows for this large, just creative output, which is what I'm slowly realizing is, I think, the sign of a great artist, is constant, ceaseless output. I think it's very contrary to, I think, a lot of popular conception. Oh, you should only work when you're inspired. Something like that. But just being always creative and having creativity and quality be kind of like automatic like that, even if it does feel maybe a little bit mechanical, if you're just continuing to take pride in being able to do this well, even if you're not in the throes of the most creative, passionate thing you've ever been. But if you're a good songwriter, anything you write should be pretty good. Or a lot of it can be bad, who cares? But if you're a good songwriter and you've practiced forever, a good song will start to become maybe almost automatic. You can still be inspired, you can still write the most amazing song ever that you've ever made, that you have such a deep connection with. But it's alright, just make a lot of good stuff. This is great. This is like what I think the goal of someone who wants to be a successful artist in my mind is this kind of devotion, constant creation, this not giving up when it starts to maybe feel boring and not novel. It's just continuing to do that, okay, I've learned how to be a good songwriter, I'm just gonna write a bunch of great songs and sing well and perform a bunch for my friends and show everybody all the new cool stuff I'm making. This is so fun. This is great, you know, just creating a lot of good stuff. I'm so inspired by Woody Guthrie. He wrote 3,000 songs in his life, and now they're being, you know, recorded by Wilco and Billy Bragg, and it just it's so great. He was just able to write all this. Is his devotion. Some of them are probably bad, but most of them are really good. A lot of them are just CFG. It's 3 chords, and he talks about pretty much the same thing, but he just wrote a lot, and it's great. It's so good to engage with that and have that just kind of output. I think this is how it can really be part of your life, even if it maybe feels, I don't know, automatic isn't the right word. You're always being creative. It's all creative, and it's like, oh, I've done this before. I think it's been great to focus in that way. Like, okay, now we're making this album. Sure, we already mixed the EP, a couple of songs, the 2 EPs. And if I'm doing we're doing a 13 song album together, if all of those were as insane and hard to figure out mixing wise as Sentimentalist was with 20 stems, and now you're sending me 80 and I had to figure that out, oh my god, I would be overwhelmed. It would be impossible. I would just hate everything. It would take forever. But now I get 80 stems and I'm like, okay, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly how to do this. I can do this in a couple nights. It's, you know, I know exactly what I want. It's just putting in the work to do it now. And this is still so amazing that we get to just make a lot of really good stuff now.
I think I have measured my like development as an artist basically not on like, I wouldn't say on how prolific I've become, because I associate being prolific with like how much stuff I'm putting out in the world, and that's not really what I think is a marker of like a true artist, but how freely I can create on like a day-to-day basis. And when I think about like my own development over, you know, I started making music when I was 12 or 13, the amount of time that it takes for me to get to what I consider like the next level is slowly getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And I'm starting to be able to understand what I need to do more and more in those gaps. Like I think about, like I've had multiple instances of beginner's mind of like the beginning of that new level or stage that I'm on of being able to execute my ideas. Like I had the first spurt of creativity was, you know, like locking myself in my room for like a week and like cracking a bunch of software and like pulling out the keyboard and whatnot. And I was super like prolific for like a couple months. And then I spent ages 13 to 19 like not knowing what the hell I was doing and having like a horrible creative block and just trying to be like, how do I even finish a song was the main struggle. And so then once I got to the point where I joined MPU, got my Ableton license, started being okay with calling myself like an artist, that I think was like I finally leveled up after 6 years. And then the process of like leveling up from there was making Sentimentalist, which was the course of 6 months or something. Then I listened to Sentimentalist afterwards. You know, there were so many difficulties in being like, okay, now I know how to make like a real album and we're making this together. Now that I know that I can make an EP, which of course was the biggest, most nebulous task, which was why I would text you, can you help me with my EP, and then not know literally what that would entail. Once I figured out, oh, but we can make it, then that was beginner's mind again. We were like thrilled and we were recording and having a good time.
You figured it out. We sat down one day and I said, Cadence.
You said, tell me what you want me to do for you.
And we made that one document that was Sentimentalist, and I said, okay, what do you need to do for this song?
And I kept...
What are you missing? And then you just showed me your random project files and there's nothing there, and I was like, okay, we need to add this line, we need to add this, we need to add this, we need to record vocals for this, we need to record guitar for this.
Yes.
And we just made this document, and then I think that's when it became an actually achievable task.
Yes.
After you just asking me for help for months, I was like, okay, no, we're sitting down and we're planning this EP, and then it actually just became achievable.
Well, to be fair, part of why I was so confused as to what I needed from you was because the association I had before of making music with somebody else, I was like, okay, well, but I don't really need that. Like, I didn't need you to be my producer. And that was what I was thinking of at first. I was like, I'm having trouble with this thing. I was basically like, what can I teach myself and improve upon myself? And what do I feel like I need to outsource and could benefit from you doing? So it took me, that's why I kept ghosting you. I kept having to like think about it and be like, what do I want somebody else to do for my music? And I just honestly didn't know. It's funny thinking about it now because it seems like the obvious answer always was for you to help me with recording and help me with mixing. But I had to be like, okay, what do people do together? I don't want you to produce for me. I don't even think that you can produce for me. You can play drums for me occasionally. And so then, yeah, it took a while for me to be like, and then I was like, oh, I actually am a producer. This is the thing that I do and whatnot.
But I can also help you organize stuff and be clear and directed about what needs to happen and all that. There's so much that's just kind of all like the logistical just kind of work side of it. It's like, it's so funny to plan music in this kind of like serious manner of like, okay, we have a docket and deadlines now, and this is legitimately how we have figured out how to work best. You know, if everything was just nebulous and we didn't organize or plan anything and you were just sitting there doing it alone, I think you probably would have continued to maybe flounder for a while, because it's so easy to do that. I've been there. It's like, oh, I have all these, like, I've been meaning to record I've been meaning to record songs that I wrote for like almost a year now. And now I'm just realizing that I like them and that they're good and that I need someone to help me record them. And I'm like, it's so easy to just let everything fall by the wayside and not actually have this devotion. And I'm fine. I've loved performing and just like having written stuff and practicing writing. But yeah, it's so easy to just be like, oh yeah, I'll just push it off, whatever. I live in a recording studio. I could literally do it tonight. And just sit down and record all my songs. Because,
I think that was the number one most helpful thing that you did for me. I don't want to downplay the recording and mixing, because that helps me offload some of it so that I can focus on making better art.
Yeah, it's technical work, whatever.
No, it's really, really valuable. But my point is that I, being a producer, had the skill set that I could have developed to do that myself. You know, I had the equipment, I can mix and whatnot. I think the biggest thing, like the reason that I like working with you the most, is that to have somebody else look at what I'm doing so thoroughly and like intimately and understand what it is I'm trying to achieve, and then be able to hold me accountable to it and to kind of lighten the workload so that it actually gets done and doesn't seem like this giant like daunting task, basically, I think has done like wonders, like it made an immeasurable impact on my music. And even when we were just setting completely arbitrary deadlines that were just like, this needs to be out by April, holy shit, like it's coming down to the wire. If we didn't do that, like, it wouldn't be made. That's become easier and easier the more that we've worked on projects too, because the amount of time that it takes to make these much more like it took us a year for Sentimentalist, and now it's like it'll be less than a year for the 13 track album where I send you 87 stems on every project, and it's like these incredibly complex songs. Our turnaround time is faster and faster, and I think that had I continued to, if I took it upon myself to figure out how to record myself, mix myself, try to hold myself accountable, set arbitrary deadlines for myself that nobody else is enforcing on me, I think I could do it, but it would take a much longer amount of time, and it would be way less fun. And I have plenty of passion, but to work with somebody equally passionate makes a huge difference.
Yeah, same. I've recorded and mixed with a lot of people, and some projects just never get posted and never get done, and we do some recording and then it just kind of falls by the wayside. And it's like, it's great to work with someone who is just like, okay, we're getting this out, I actually am really invested in this, and of course do whatever you want. I'm just here to do whatever you need me to. You don't have any devotion to me to
You
like
don't have any
to like release everything, whatever. Maybe I've done some bad work, who cares.
Yeah.
But it's like, and so it's just fun for everybody to work with people as devoted as them. Yeah, when I was in New York, I went to this gallery that has studios in the basement, which is unreal. They're literally just artists in residence. They don't pay rent, but it's one of the few galleries that's really selling in New York, is that they said. They're really small and everyone else is having trouble selling, whatever. And she's like, my friend who works there never had problems with that. She just says, everyone from the front of house staff to the owners to the artists, every single person involved in this is so passionate and is making this like a budding scene. The artists really want to work well to make great art for everybody else involved who's helping them with the logistics of a gallery opening. Yeah. And what's crazy is that they're demanding of them, like, 10 huge oil paintings for this gallery, in a couple months. I don't really know the exact timelines, but it's the exact same thing as we're talking about. But these are professional artists selling work for thousands of dollars, as they still have a gallery to fill by a deadline. What this just like output that they have, supported by all of these people helping them with everything that's not just the art, is what really makes this such like, it would seem like made it such a special scene, such an interesting like thing to be part of as an artist, or as any of them there. It's this kind of passion in every single element of your work that makes it really special. It's not just the music itself. People really love to focus on that, the value of just the art. Nothing else matters. But no, it does. Output matters. Presentation matters. Community matters. Who you're releasing it to, how you advertise it, how you share it, how it's produced, where it's produced, who it's influenced by. Stuff like that. Every single element that goes into making this work is really important. The more passionate people you can get on every element of it, I think is what makes some work really special. Like, look at the Elephant Six, right? Neutral Milk Hotel. They were all just buddies working in the studios together. They all played on each other's albums. Their producer was their friend. It was this super like insular community, and it shows on all of those records how amazing they are. They just have the greatest musicians around. And even on your album, is you have all of our friends from MPU and people you've met in Santa Cruz recorded on the album. This is what's so fun about it, and every single person is part of this amazing story you could tell about this musical project. You're documenting so much more through the whole process than just your ideas that you want to express in the art. Yeah, no, 100%. That's been, I think, the biggest like change in how I made music before college versus now. And kind of what I was saying about like why it took so long for me to understand what contribution I wanted you to make is that I didn't really understand how you could be so collaborative with other artists without like completely compromising what you're making.
And I think that was just because I had very few good examples of it. I just didn't have musician friends until college. The association I always had, I've always been so adamant that I am the producer of my music because that's important to me, and I just didn't see that around me at all. And my conception was always, I'm going to work with other people and I'm going to end up being like the singer and some guy is going to produce my music. And that was literally just what I thought that collaborating with other artists was. That was the only thing anyone ever offered me, was some guy being like, let me make you beats.
That was how Love Bug was made for the most part?
No, I brought my production to it, and he asked me basically like what I wanted him to contribute to it, and I had said guitar and bass.
Oh, yeah.
So no, honestly, that was one of the first good collaborations I had with that. I came to him, I'm like, I'm a producer, whatever. But a lot of times before that, my experience of trying to collaborate with other people was some dude being like, let me make beats for you, and I'd be like, I make the beats myself, and then he wanted to sleep with me. I was like, this is horrible, and I'm going on FL Studio and doing it myself, and I don't want to deal with any of you. Many such cases, but that was because that was my only conception of collaboration, and because I was so mad about that, I was like, I'm doing it all myself. Sure, like I can, but I think that not only is it such a wonderful, like, creative moment of connection to be playing music with other people, but I think that all of the places that I could stand to improve, or my blind spots, or my, like, even just things that are outside of my range of creation, having somebody else, like, contribute that is so special and cool, and it has felt less like I'm sacrificing my own creative vision or whatever, because I feel really like who's gonna really accuse me of doing that at this point?
Yeah.
And I feel confident in my own contributions to my music, and so then I feel confident in having other people contribute to it too, and being like, for instance, Ashton is a much better guitarist than me and contributed something so awesome to Play Dead. And like same with Ava, I like can write a bass line. She can actually play a bass line. And they could understand the groove of that song so much better than I could automate on, digital production. And then, with you too, with like, I can record myself and I can mix myself, but to be with somebody who has that specific skill set, who's passionate about it, and who is going to hold me to it by contributing that has increased the quality and the volume of my music greatly and quickly.
Yeah, it's something funny too, is that often, like, I'll feel kind of useless. But, well, I guess not really anymore, but, like, thinking about it is, I love all these artistic scenes so much, and I feel like I've been developing the stuff that I like to make and having lower creative output than maybe I would like for a long time. I really enjoy writing songs. I enjoy performing. I'm just getting kind of better at guitar, and I put my stuff up on Bandcamp, whatever. But I always feel like that's not where I've really invested my energy. What I've invested it in is MPU and organizing people and helping people and learning how to produce and record and all of that. And it can feel almost useless sometimes because, like, if there aren't artists around me, like, sure, I can play a good song on the guitar probably, but it's like the people I think doing phenomenal work around me are the ones that I want to work with and help and produce for and inspire and make them take themselves seriously. This is where I think I've been successful with MPU, and oftentimes it can just kind of feel like a thankless or unimportant job because you're not having this maybe direct contribution to what's released on Spotify, which, I guess I played drums a couple of times, but it's like
you contributed plenty.
But it's like this behind the scenes stuff that is weirdly kind of like anonymous, weirdly kind of thankless. But
is that why you compensated by continuously saying I made you about me?
It's true.
It's not true.
It is.
If anything, I made you. Cable City Studio wouldn't exist without me.
Well, then we made each other, so I guess
that's what I've been saying and is the real answer, but you say no, I made you every time I say
that's also true, though.
But I made you too.
I never said anything about that.
Sorry, please continue.
But yeah, it is like, I don't know, a lot of like organizing shows you've been through this is often really thankless.
Yeah.
And organizing MPU and putting in all this work so people can meet each other and have a good time is sometimes kind of thankless because they don't like every once in a while they'll come back, oh yeah, you know, I met my production partner, or like, oh, I met all my friends here. You know, I hear this sometimes, but it is rare. This has been my experience, and I just, I guess, have to know and be confident that this is making a significant contribution, right? Like, I just have to be confident that me helping you organize this music and take everything seriously and do all this mixing and mastering and organization and production work is just like, is having an important impact on the scenes around me, even though it's like less direct. I'm not going to be the face of something, or maybe even fully credited, but this is, you know, I guess this is like my artistic devotion, where I put a lot of my time and effort into.
Well, at least on my part, I think that I credit you quite a bit, hence why you're getting an interview on my radio show right now. But I understand what you're saying. I also think it's interesting that at least in recent times, I've been doing more of what you do, and you've been more doing what I do, as in, like, you're starting to learn how to write and perform and take that seriously, and I've taken some could say a backseat to certain productions, and I've been able to develop my own, like, skill set and whatnot enough that, like, I can use it for other things and use it to help other things, and I have so much fun because to me, organizing doesn't feel thankless necessarily, but I think that's because I'm not looking to be thanked, so I'm not really thinking, like, God, where are my thanks? It's nice when I get it, I guess, but that's...
Yeah, I agree.
But my point is that as I already have my own artistry and my own creativity, and, like, I have a whole project and I focus so much on that, and so I don't feel like I'm seeking validation from this other side. I'm doing it because I like being part of something bigger than myself, and like, I would kind of rather not get, like, a bunch of credit for that. If you want to give me credit, do it on my own project. But, like, it has made me understand, I think, a lot more what you have done for other artists, of, like, even too just the fact that I'm a pretty good producer now, or that I know, you know, a decent about music technology, and I've been like a resource for people who don't know anything about it. That is, I think, equally rewarding and helpful, and I think, you know, what's the point of having learned all of this if I only use it for myself? I never share it with anybody else. I think that's like the foundation of, like, the whole creative ecosystem, is just sharing all of the knowledge in any talent, in any skill that you might have to contribute to it, because you know, a lot of these artists who have not ever taken themselves seriously and don't know how to export their stems right are going to be floundering without people behind the scenes. And then, you know, a lot of these people who are, I see great artists all the time, and now my solution when I'm like, oh my God, more people should hear this, is like, I could book a show, have them play, and bring them to more people. Like, that's within my power to do, is to uplift this other artist by, like, doing something tangible.
Yeah. And the funniest thing about that too is that you also have to realize that they're probably not gonna be like, oh my God, I'm so glad that this person sees how great I am. They're gonna go, let's go, I just booked a gig. Yeah. This is great. And it's like, sure, this is exactly what should happen. Yeah. Like, I can't sit back and be like, this is my reason for it, and it's completely different than how it's read. They're not like, oh man, they're taking me under their wing and giving me this gig. That's so sweet of them. I'm glad, like, my music connected with them. I booked a gig, let's go. We were playing a show. And it's like perfect. You can't, you just have to realize that this is how you contribute. It doesn't always need to be felt in the same way that you intend it. You just have to know that you are doing it for good reasons and it matters. And this is kind of what we're talking about, this irrational devotion to art, is even just putting stuff out into the world. You just have to assume that probably someone's gonna like it. I don't know. Listening to music has been an amazing part of my life. It's an amazing part of every single day for me. Yeah. Just have to know that you could be part of that, and even if, you know, you never knew you had a single listener, and you just kind of, or even that a single person cared about you playing at an open mic or whatever, just have to kind of assume, sure, I've enjoyed people at open mics, I've enjoyed music, like, sure, this is why I'm part of it, it's because I like it and it's valuable. I don't, you know, it doesn't have to be read as, oh my God, Cadence cares so much about the community, and that's why she's putting out this album, because she wants the people around her to listen to this amazing music. Thank you so much for gracing us with this.
Gracing us with your music. Yeah.
It's like, oh, great album, thanks. It's like, of course, this is exactly how I want you to experience this.
That's what's so nice about having those two different creative outlets, though, is like, I don't think like what you're saying could technically be your perspective of being like, this is a thankless job and like, why doesn't anyone appreciate that I'm doing this for them? I don't think that's ever occurred to me with any of the more organizational stuff I've done, because I don't really thirst for validation in that way. Because I have been able to pursue my own stuff too. Like, I think you do need both. You don't have to have, I mean, ideally you wouldn't be wanting for external validation all that much anyways, but I think that's very human and normal. And so if I want to be recognized for talent or for artistry, I can do that with my own personal thing, but that's never my intention when I'm trying to uplift someone else. I don't want to be like, oh my God, my mentor who like I owe everything to. That's not how I like think of myself. It's like, I have something to help you with and I want to help you.
Yeah.
And I like seeing the product of you taking that advice and then applying it to your own artistry, and now you've improved, and I'm not like, you know, why aren't you shouting me out for it? This is how artists grow and communicate with each other. It's the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
I don't think that it should be a thankful job.
Yeah, I say thankless as, honestly, at this point, very matter of fact.
Yeah.
Because I have done, you know, I've done this all now for years, and of course, there's a lot of thanks from the artists that I've, like, recorded and stuff like that, and the people that I work closely with, but at least in terms of, like, the community and a lot of MPU.
Yeah.
Just a lot of organization and stuff like that.
I do think, though, that maybe not being like, oh, I should be getting like praised all the time for this, but I also think that it's fair to be like, don't downplay my contributions, or like at least be like, hey, thank you for putting this on or whatnot. Because I definitely saw it when you were like, I didn't see you as MPU president. I mostly heard your agonized phone calls, but I did see you as vice president, and I did see a lot of times you were like, y'all, like, what the hell? Like, I just set up this like entire thing and you guys like disappeared. Like, I think it's fair to want some validation for, like, I just put this whole thing on, like, and I'm happy to do it, and I'm not gonna stop doing it if you don't thank me in the correct way, because I would do it regardless, but, like, y'all, I did that for you.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair thing to still want, and I think I try to be extra thankful and appreciative of anybody who's working in behind-the-scenes stuff for that reason.
Yeah. Maybe this is what you can take away from this interview. Is that
me or the listener?
The listeners.
Okay.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Is, I don't know. Yeah, it's that. It's not. You know, you don't have. Honestly, you don't have to thank people. It is just. It's really easy to be unaware of it, which is why it happens.
Yeah.
It's like I've never organized a show. I'm just in a band. We book gigs. We're set. I kind of get what's going on, but like I've never put on a show. I don't know what the actual experience is like that. I don't know what it is to set this up and develop, you know, to put in all of this behind the scenes work. But I guess this is what we're talking about, is this is kind of what it feels like.
Yeah.
And that sometimes it can feel thankless, and it's never ever gonna stop, or just stop being fun. Like, it's great, but if you're looking for that external validation, sometimes it is just kind of few and far between, or even almost like unsatisfying sometimes.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, thanks so much for putting on the show, and it's like, yeah, sweet, like I did that, but it's like, I don't, you know, this killed me for the past 2 weeks. This is a lot more than just like, oh yeah, this is so cool. It's like, but that's all you need. It's great. This is just, you know, this is part of the ecosystem, but it is interesting to pay a lot more attention to everything that goes into all of this. I think that's the like fun of being behind the scenes, is knowing that you can present something as so simple that was insane to do. Yeah. I think it's really fun to do that.
It is really fun, yeah, and I think that, like, I when I do something like that, I mean, especially the shows that I've organized entirely myself have only been the 2 in the last 3 weeks. But both of them went like I could, I guess, if I looked at it through the lens of beforehand, it probably was stressful. I don't even remember it being stressful. Everything went great for some reason. And so then my like team with me at Rambler were like super thankful, and I forgot that they even would be and wasn't really thinking about that, so it was cool. But then I could tell that some of the people were like, you know, what can I do now? Like, you've put on this great show. And I was like, well, but I put it on so you would have fun. That's the success for me, is watching it go well. And like I really appreciate that, but it's not transactional. I accomplished the thing I wanted to, which was to throw an awesome show that people had fun at. And as long as you don't like trash the venue and not pay us and like not give a fuck, like you've done your job. You came to the show, you had fun. Awesome.
Yeah, you take so much more satisfaction in this just internal validation.
Yeah, in the fact that it did well and people had a good time. That's the validation.
Yeah, because this is exactly why I did this, and this is achieving all of my lofty ideals for why I'm doing all of this, and that's great. That's what you should. That's why the connection is so great.
Yeah.
And why it is also a little matter of fact that it can feel thankless at sometimes externally. Sure. Yeah. Is it rewarding? Every single second of every single time.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's what's so kind of funny about it.
Yeah.
Even for me to just be like behind the scenes, is I was just like, sure, maybe Griffin, who I send like the mixes I do to, is gonna be like, wow, this is a great mix. You know, you really, I can see how much you've practiced all this.
I say when it's a great mix.
Of course, but and you are like the two people who I think have, or my roommate who, you know, that was so funny when Rowan said to you like, yeah, I hear Ryan just I hear Ryan.
I hear your voice all the time.
Yeah, I hear your voice all the time because Ryan's just mixing in the middle of the night, just like for hours, and I'm like, that's where I get the validation of like my mixes.
Yeah.
But for everybody listening, be like 3-4 people who are gonna be like, wow, that was really well mixed, maybe.
Yeah.
And the people that's gonna get back to me is also few and far between.
Yeah.
My name isn't like many places, I guess. I do want it to be on Spotify for that matter.
I told you I put it on Spotify and it removed it, and it also removed all of the other people. It doesn't say like Pat Blaine is on, Old Friend. It's a problem with DistroKid, and I'll figure it out by the next release.
Man.
But I credited you on everything. I even credited you on backing vocals on Peace. It just removed literally everything.
Oh, bummer. But yeah, that's also that's also fine. It's just like, sure, I did my work. I'm happy that this is out there and that people are enjoying it. This is why I do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not so people can come up to me and say, great mix, Ryan.
Yeah, it's just like a nice advantage when that does happen. I told you, Sam Cohn told me the exact same thing Rowan did, where he was like, Ryan's been in the basement at least mixing for like 4 hours, like every night minimum. That was like right around, I was here like right before Universal Appeal came out, and he was like, I haven't seen him in a while. And I was like, yes. Awesome.
I'm a proponent of world peas.
Yay!
World peas.
Visualize world peas.
Visualize world peas. I'm not gonna be annoying. Anyway, well, I don't know, we ran into this a lot with MPU, is that trying to, it's an impossible goal to teach people to want to be musicians that already enjoy music, and they may even have the desire to be a musician, but you can't teach them to care about it, which is the weirdest thing. It seems like this is the what you should be able to do as a, you know, inspirational figure, as someone who's kind of in charge of fostering this environment. This is at least how I felt going into the club. Was I was a musician before, but I didn't really take it seriously or think that it was all too important before I joined MPU. And the second that hit, then I was like, oh, like, you can just write a song, and it's actually really important to do that. You can just make this, you can just throw this show. And it was the most inspiring and like empowering thing for me. It's why music has become such an important part of my life. Yeah. And for some reason, it just seems like I keep missing that element that I want to bring out in these new people coming in that was brought out in me. And it's kind of confusing. I don't know what to do about it. It's been at least a lot of my mission, both in music and just kind of in philosophical pursuits, is to somehow bring about this passion from people, to bring about this exaggeration of their character, of their self, to actualize all of their ideas. And I just keep being at a loss for actually accomplishing that. Yeah. Because you were saying, well, you started by saying these underclassmen, and it's been about 3 years and some change since you started college. Do you think that like incoming freshmen and the like next generation basically of MPU that you've seen, or like, you know, whatever else you're referencing here, is less impassioned or like growing less?
in passion over time?
I'm unsure. I think this is just my experience now, but we actually have, I don't know, I think everything just comes in cycles. At least was a trend that I noticed a little bit last year, but hasn't really continued. We've actually had a lot of great new officers and members this year, and I think everything just comes in cycles. You know, one off year doesn't really mean much. But it still is a trend that I kind of picked up from being maybe a little overly cynical there, and it kind of extended to a lot of other parts of my life, especially even at shows, right? Is then I noticed for a long time, this was my class when we were starting college, a lot of people would show up to shows and just be going on their phones. And this was probably the fallout from COVID and all of that.
Yeah, I think that we talked about that. I think that culture has changed.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But it's still something that I notice quite a bit, is that people have these passions, or they're really interested in something, or they have this desire for a richer engagement with life through some sort of pursuit.
Yeah.
And somehow it just falls short.
I think it would be, it would definitely be like too much of a reduction to shrink this down to the scale of the specific like university we're talking about, because I think that this same process happens to like young people everywhere. But I kind of do think that specifically at Cal Poly and with like clubs and whatnot, I think that it is really easy with the general focus here to, if you're kind of going down and you're looking at two possible roads that you could take, I think that I've at least seen a lot of people who were passionate about music and probably still are, and just saw that as not a viable option for themselves, or who, you know, had their fingers in two pies essentially, and then like took the more practical route, or even like not even like ideologically like that, just like you're doing a bunch of other shit and that becomes the priority. And like I remember like our junior year was when you were president, right? And then that was when you were cynical. And you were like, everybody is just doing different things now and like prioritizing different things. I would say I don't think that there's the problem of lack of passion, like if you're talking about passion being like just like the emotion of passion, but I think that people, especially here, and just a lot of young people in general, don't know how to act out their passion, and I don't know if they see it as a valiant thing to pursue, is to be this like force of passion especially about art and music. Like I think that especially in a place like this, it would be always kind of reduced to a hobby, and the more that you devalue your own hobbies, like in your general life, the more you're gonna kind of lose your passion for them. You know, if you're like, you know, it's impractical, it's like, obviously I like doing this, I like producing on the side or being a DJ or whatever, but like, you know, I am an engineer and like I just have so much homework and like I gotta go, you know, whatever, hang out with my friends, hang out with my girlfriend, etc. I guess MPU can take the back burner, and then that's all well and good in like the specific instance, because it's like, okay, you know, you don't need to be an engaged part of this one club for all of college, but I think the larger problem would be that people are doing that in every like aspirational art or music thing in their lives.
Yeah, I was talking to Ashton a little bit about this after our show 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And I was saying, as I grow up, it becomes more and more meaningful to call myself an artist, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
I think it's the baseline, just kind of like, it's just something normal that I'm doing. I just think it's amazing. I think everyone could and should be making art if they're able to.
Yeah.
Or even if it's just writing a poem every once in a while. Yeah. It's just a great thing to be doing. And I just have that devotion that I think it's really important. I don't really need to think it's that important, but it's so funny that this is becoming meaningful to me. I was like, I developed this with my buddies in this random college club playing for each other, and it just happened to, I don't know, kind of blossom into this amazing culture and a really rich engagement for me. And I think it's something that's been really valuable to pursue. And so it's hilarious to me that now I could, be at a party. Oh, what do you do? I'm an artist. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
That's like, I mean, I don't think anyone's impressed. I don't really care. I make noise music on Bandcamp. But it's like, but it's still hilarious that this is saying something legitimate about me.
Well, I think the two main, like, reactions that you would get from somebody who, like, doesn't consider themselves an artist, both of them are kind of sad, in my opinion, because I get these a lot when I have, now kind of recently become comfortable, like, introducing myself as a musician, or, like, if someone goes, wait, you make music, I don't go, like, oh, yeah, like, I'm trying to take some pride in it now.
Yeah, I'm drop the EP, dropping an album next month, let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which has taken a long time to get to that point, because I almost felt like I absolved myself of all of the potential ways that somebody could, like, stereotype me if I start being like, I'm an artist. If I was like, oh, but, it's not that big of a deal, whatever. Like, why am I downplaying it? I spend, like, all my time doing this. But I feel like the two responses that I get, it's usually the first one, but both of them are so sad, is either, oh my God, I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's well-intentioned, obviously, and I think that some of it is that, like, I do think that I have this, like, inclination towards music. I think I'm good at it, but I think that's the idea, is that a lot of people think that you need either natural inborn talent to be an artist, or they are literally just like, I just think it's kind of the capitalist conception of it, which is that you have to be really, really good at it and make it vocational and all of that in order to be an artist. Whereas I think a lot of people who make art just see it as, like, a fundamental part of human life, and it's not, like, more of an identity than all of the other things about you know? So then there's almost, like, it's not even, like, envy, it's, like, longing. It's, like, I wish that I could do that, but, I have all these other things that I do instead, or, like, this is the path that I took, or, like, I don't even know where to start is generally where it is. Like, I wrote a song once, but I hated it. And then the other possible one is that your immediate reaction is, like, shut the fuck up, you are so pretentious, the second you say you're an artist. And it's, like, that is kind of sad the more I think about it, too. Because what is... I mean, if you follow it up with a pretentious ass spiel, like, that's probably going to be pretty damning.
Yeah,
but
I make avant pop.
I make experimental harsh noise
avant pop.
on Bandcamp.
It's amazing. I mean, you probably wouldn't get it. No, I make noise music on Bandcamp. It sucks. It's awesome.
That's exactly what you say. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, like that. I mean, because I feel like that's where it is also. That's where it gets funny, is that there is this conception that this is some big mysterious thing to be doing. This is what I've been talking a lot about with, like, the de-abstraction of an identity. So if you hold yourself as an artist, this really contains nothing for what you should be doing, how you should be living, how you should be acting. It's just like, oh, I'm an artist, sure, I'm creative, but it's like, where do you go in actually expressing that? And this is where I think it's really easy to kind of have this kind of break from yourself. Oh, I wish I could do that. You're like, I wish I could do the abstract idea of being so inspired to make a piece of art. Instead of just like, oh, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write something. Or I'm going to sit down and play the guitar. It's like, that's all it means to be an artist, which is why it gets hilarious to me that this is an identity that I can hold, because it's...
we're good.
Because it's not really much more than, like, oh, I'm gonna sit down and play the guitar or write a poem. Cool. Maybe I'll perform. Maybe I'll show it to my friends.
I think you're right. It when it's like being an artist in the abstract, I think that it does seem really, really daunting, because you're kind of being like, I wish that I possessed all of the traits that an artist has, and I wish that I knew how to act on them, and I wish that I knew, I wish I had these ideas that, an artist would have. A lot of these things are really abstract and mean nothing, and it's like I don't know what to say in that context other than to give concrete examples of, like, why don't you sit down and try to write a song, or, like, think about some of the ideas that maybe you haven't acted on, and, like, figure out, like, oh, how could I try to, like, actualize that, like, how could I just get a recording of this thing that I've been writing, or whatever.
Easier than ever now to do that too.
So
it's
easy.
Easier than ever to learn and to have all of this stuff available.
And I think if you're able to suspend Well, I think the biggest problem are all the blocks, the mental blocks that you put up before you can do that. But ultimately, the action happens if you can figure out, let me suspend all of my beliefs about being an artist. Let me, like, not... Sorry, I got distracted for a second. Yeah, let me not think about, like, what this is gonna be too much or what I need to make of it if I become an artist.
Salud.
Thank you. And let me just focus on the one singular action of making art, and like you could just do that and do literally nothing else ever in your life and still be considered an artist.
Yeah.
It is thought of as like a very grand and like nebulous title that I don't think it needs to be. It's so basic and so human and normal.
Yeah, but there is also something interesting to say about lack of knowledge and kind of lack of power. I was talking to my friend Evan here, who's been reading a lot of Foucault lately, and Foucault has the conception of power as the scope of possibilities and how you are limited from or empowered to do certain things.
Yeah.
Your power is limited when you lack opportunity. Your power grows when you gain opportunity. And I was thinking about it in terms of the modern world, and even with artistry or even something like engineering, is the more you learn, the more options you have to pursue. This is why I think it's so hard to start, is because it's so easy once you've already played guitar for a year or something, you know a bunch of chords, you know how you can make new ones and new shapes, and you know how to sing, you know how you can write new melodies, you know all these new words, and you've practiced rhyming and everything. But when you're first starting, you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to rhyme. I go to the store, and then it's such a bore. And it's
I used to be eating sriracha butter noodles.
But now I'm shopping for fine French poodles. And see, that took years of practice to get there.
And I can only congratulate you for it.
But it's like, sure, some people are proteges, but everybody else just builds off of each other and learns. Like, Ray, you're not an artist. Have you learned about Dada? Just get a snow shovel, just throw it up there, call it art. You're an artist. This is great because you just had that idea. And you can be so easily inspired by all of these people who've been making art for hundreds of years. Like, that's the great thing about it. You don't need to start from nowhere. Like, this is such a common theme, and everybody I know is you've started becoming an artist out of complete emulation. I just want to try to do what they did. But art, you're not going to do it well. You're going to do it in your own way, and that's the whole fun of developing your own craft, and it just takes time. Sure, I'm going to paint so if I sat down here and I said, I'm going to paint exactly like Salvador Dali. Where is that really going to get me? I have no idea. I don't know how to paint. And I've seen like 2 of his paintings, but I can just emulate them all I want. I think it'll take me to great places.
I'm gonna get more coffee. Do you want a refill?
Oh yeah, that would be great.
And then I have thoughts on that matter.
You want me to just keep talking?
No.
It's a crazy day to be sane, after all. We look through this wheat field of life, and it blows on us in chaff and in bread and in life. Truly, for we are the bakers and we are the architects. We design not only the house, but the oven, but the loaf. Oh, to philosophize upon a sourdough is to philosophize upon life itself. Capital does not exist in a vacuum. It exists in transaction between two so lost to the woes of time and energy and exhaustion and revolution. For wherefore shall capital decrease? It shall be when we cease to communicate.
Stop saying bullshit.
Stop being a hater. This is beautiful. You should just put that up. It's great.
I don't know what that was. I'm scared.
You should listen to it though.
I have people listen to my show.
It's good though. I said we are the bakers and we are the architects.
We're the bakers?
Not only of house, but of oven, but of loaf as well.
Thank you for repeating it. I can't wait to listen back and hear it twice. Okay, let me think about. Let me go back to my mind palace real quick. I was thinking about it when you were like, pick up a snow shovel and put it on a wall. That's art. I think at least one other thing that really inhibits people from pursuing art or the creation of their own art is, I think that I think personally, I think people get way too caught up in the definition of what art is, and then start applying that to any moment or of creation that they might like start to have, and like stunt it immediately.
Oh my god, now I'm making art.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a hard one for me to talk about, because I can go on it forever, but at the very baseline, I just don't really care about defining art, and like people love to have this conversation, and I just kind of can't bring myself to care. So yeah, we could get into like an hour-long philosophical debate, but I just don't think I'm gonna care either way. And I think part of why I don't care is because if you're getting caught up in like the philosophical argument of what art really is, when you're just trying to create alone, you're treating your art like it's already in the critical sphere. And like nobody is reviewing your art yet. No, you're not. Your music isn't in like Pitchfork. You're not like in a gallery trying to like justify whether your canvas that's just all red is art or not. Like I think that we end up like internalizing all of the like cultural debates about art like way too much, and like applying it way too much to just the process of making stuff, to the point where you're gonna be going crazy being like, is this good enough, or is this anything at all? And I think that is probably the biggest like inhibitor to making something, is trying to put a value judgment on it before it's even made, and before it's even out, like you haven't even shown it to anybody else.
Yeah, I talk about this a lot, of what is the value of art too, is like, oh, is it to show people you're a groundbreaking genius? I don't know, you can express a lot.
That's what you do.
I still think the best thing I've ever made, the clowns.
Oh,
of course.
I thought you were gonna say toe music.
No, that's
I'm not
second.
listening to that,
That's
though.
second. It's really good. Hey, everybody listen to toe music.
You can't. That's literally considered plugola, and you can't do that.
Oh god,
I'm
cut
editing
that out.
that out.
Cut that out. Well, I think the best thing that I've made is the clowns, which is my 5-minute tape loop of like a 10-second section of Queen Jane Approximately by Bob Dylan. I think that's the best thing I've ever made. I listened to that. I love that song. I listened to that tape loop for an hour and a half when I first made it, and I was like, I should record this because I just listened to it for an hour and a half, and I'm gonna throw it on Bandcamp because why not?
Yeah.
And it's great. I think it's really funny that it's out there, and I love listening to it and showing it to people because it's funny.
Yes.
And I was like, I listened to it forever. Someone else will probably enjoy listening to it for a while.
Yeah.
May I intrude to say that you were spot on. The most important thing is, do you dig it? Do you love it? What I love is singing harmonies, and I never was thinking about being a star or whatever. But that's just what I love. I love the brain game of it and the beauty of it. And I ended up being in a harmony group that got 2 Grammy nominations. I was in one of them. I sang a whole bunch of solos on it. But that was like when I got into situations where they were trying to monetize me and everything else. And that kind of, I have to keep returning to the well of just digging it. It's fun,
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thing.
We're doing an interview, like a conversation for the radio show that I do right now, and it's just like an open conversation about creativity in general. And so if you have anything that you would like to contribute, or is much appreciated.
I have a lot to contribute because I have seen how academia and corporations have really can wreck music and other forms of art.
Yes. Yeah.
People, And I'm 76 years old, and I've had to figure this out. What happened? What's happening?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but continue with your interview.
Oh no, absolutely. That's a really, really great contribution, and like exactly what I was talking about is that like I think both of us are at the crossroads of being like, now we've got to decide what we're going to be doing to support ourselves, and both of us are artists, and I think that conflating the two of being like, I need to create only so that I can like monetize it is gonna stunt your creativity and like remove everything that's so wonderful about it. And so I 100% agree with you that
Although there are some people it's like, man, that works for them, so
yeah. Oh yeah.
But for me, it like every time I started thinking about impressing people or monetizing it took me away from what was good for me.
Yeah.
what worked, ultimately to monetize it too.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke to a fellow who was a musician once, and I said, do you have any words of wisdom you can give me as a musician? He said, well, I'll tell you what my musical idol
Yeah.
he said, don't try to be special at what other people are special at.
Yeah.
Unless you really dig that, but
Yeah.
figure out what's special about you.
Yeah.
And enjoy that, and what's special about you and what you like about you.
Mm-hmm.
And enjoy that and expand upon that, because you're wonderful. Anyway,
It's wonderful advice.
yeah. And that really made me think,
Mm-hmm.
about what's special about me. And I returned back to, when I was a latchkey kid and home along with my sister, and we started singing together. And she sang Leave Nice Out of She's a precious golden
Yeah.
thing. But anyway, continue with your Aaron.
Aaron?
Yeah, right.
Nice to meet you. I'm Cadence.
Cadence.
Cadence, yeah.
Oh, what a cool name.
Thank you so much.
I'm Ryan.
Hey, Ryan.
Great to meet you.
Happy for both of you.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you
make
so
music
much.
together. And so it's the first guest on my radio show.
Yeah, I love the clowns. It's so stupid.
Yeah. I don't actually hate it. I just like immediately saying that I do. For no reason. It's opposition can build a healthy perspective on your own art. Every time that I hate on you, it builds your self-confidence more, because you have to consider my opposition and test your own faith and develop rational faith.
Develop rational faith in art. That's exactly what we're against with this conversation.
Rational faith?
Yeah. Art is irrational faith. There's no real good reason to be doing it, in my opinion. Like, fundamentally, whatever, sure, it provides us these good benefits, but it's hard to say that, like, it's the most noble pursuit. If you're not doing this, your soul is bankrupt and all that. You can't ever go that far. I just think it's cool. I think it has to be just kind of a rational thing. If you want an easy life, there's a lot easier ways to get that. If you want, like, a fulfilling life, there are other ways to do it. However, this is something that is, to some, very irrationally just so important and just so kind of like touching and special. But I don't think it's really like the most rational.
No, I think you're misinterpreting what I was saying. I was saying that because it's from the Art of Loving, and I was bullshitting you and making fun of you, lovingly. I was saying that it's actually good when I hate on you, because in the Art of Loving, he says that you need to repeatedly test your faith about love by considering basically by considering hatred and considering suffering and all of this, and testing that against your conception of love. And that's what he means by rational faith, is that you will still have that your faith isn't true if it hasn't been tested. And I was just abstracting that to mean literally nothing in hating on you.
Hey,
so it has nothing to do with art.
Hey, don't believe in dogma, believe in me. That's what I've been saying.
Yeah. I'm cutting that. We're not putting that on the
Please.
radio. That's got to be considered a form of plagola. Don't believe in dogma, believe in Ryan Marienthal.
That's what I'm saying.
And go to ryanmarienthal.com for more. To see the clowns.
To see, yeah, exactly.
I do think that the point you were making stands, though, of I think if you are trying to rationalize the process of making art, you're not going to ever make anything ever, because you would be rationalizing in the way that a critic would, and your art's not in the critical sphere. Or you'd be rationalizing in the way that someone who needs to make money to survive is, and your art is not in the capitalist sphere yet. It is literally just in your brain and in your room where you're making it or wherever. And I think that it can be really, really conducive to becoming more creative, which I don't even think I think it's you are removing the blocks that stop you from already being creative, and you are inherently creative.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good block to examine. And generally what I tell people to start with, if they're saying, I wish I could do what you're doing, I'm just so self-critical. It's I'm really, really self-critical about it too. I've just had to figure out ways to overpower that, and to be why don't I just make it first and then I can criticize it later.
Yeah, and then there's this whole misplaced fancy of making meaningful art. Oh, I'm not going to make this, not going to be meaningful.
Yeah, this doesn't mean anything.
Have you ever tried to analyze a painting? That's the whole fun of it, is, oh man, I'm just going to make some stuff up about what the symbolism means. This is the fun of interpreting everything. This happens in books and philosophy and paintings and music. Oh man, what's the meaning of this? You know, there's 100 meanings for every dang old Bob Dylan song.
Literally.
No, this one's about Joan Baez. No, it's about Susan Tolkien. No, it's about it's about her. No, it's about this. No, it's about Edie Sedgwick. And it's like
It's about Edie Sedgwick.
yeah, it was a whole thing.
Whoa.
I love Warhol.
Don't say that. I'm definitely cutting that.
I love Andy Warhol.
I'm cutting that out. Don't say that. Stop that. Don't say it again.
I love
I
Andy
will
Warhol.
I will stop the video. Your interview's done. Don't say it again.
I love Andy Warhol.
Let's move on.
But
shall we?
yeah, that's the fun of like interpret. It's fun to interpret art. It doesn't ever have to be accurate to that. That's just as creative of a pursuit as interpreting things. And it's like. So it's a fruitless game to begin with, to try to put meaning into your art unless it's really, really, really direct or that is important. But you can also make something obscure and have it be interpreted, or even just have your idea purposefully just not expressed well because you've made something that looks cool and people can draw whatever meaning they want out of it. There's this whole communication and inaccuracy with art. This is kind of like Hegel's idea, is that art doesn't actually express ideas well. It confuses them more. If you wanted to express an idea, you would do it as an idea in writing.
Yeah.
And so, but you're not doing that. If you want to do something creative, it's fun to, that's what you get to play with, is that obscurity and symbolism and whatever stuff that only makes sense to you, that other people then get to interpret. You know, it doesn't have to be meaningful straight off the bat for other people, obviously. That's kind of a fruitless game.
Yeah, trying to make something meaningful to somebody else through your... I would think that's like a pretty, like futile attempt. And I think will cheapen your art a lot. I mean, I used to get so mad when I would like try to look up like the meanings of my favorite songs, and I would see whatever artist being like, I just want the audience to come to their own conclusion. I'd be like, tell me what it means to you. And I think that can be a really cool, like, other perspective for them to provide and be like, this is this song that I wrote when this was happening to me and whatnot. But I also completely understand that now, being like, I don't want to... If I wanted to tell you exactly what was happening in this piece of art I would create it, I would have written an essay on it, but I didn't. I also think the meaning is up to you, like, in retrospect, too. I literally made up, like... I don't know what Pictures of Shrimps in the Sea is about until the end. I don't know what the whole first part is. I had to, like, I've gotten to the point where my songwriting process is so subconscious that, like, I've never sat down and thought, like, I'm gonna write a song about a subject. Nothing good will come out of that. Some people can do that. I can't. And so then the responsibility of interpreting it later is up to you if you even decide to do that. But trying to make your art meaningful objectively, whatever the hell that would entail, and cohesive objectively, whatever that would entail. All of that is kind of... It's so nice meeting you.
One more comment.
Of course, yeah.
I think that, you know, they say don't quit your day job. I say, yeah, don't quit your day job. We gain things from things that are totally have nothing to do with our art. I got into computers and I was just nuts and crazy about computers, and now it's like I'm doing computer music. So it, you know, it came around. But aside from music, my brain was on fire, you know, with computer stuff. You know? So it's, and I think that all firing up your brain about anything helps you with your art too.
I think that's true too. Yeah.
So you know, it's like do what you got to do to survive. You know.
Yeah.
Do your day job to support your art. You know. Yeah. That's cool.
Cool.
Or vice versa.
Thank you so much. I'll message you later. It was nice meeting you.
Oh yeah.
That's great advice. That's a great perspective on it. Instead of being like, don't quit your day job so you can begrudgingly make money, being like, don't quit your day job because your life can be enriched in so many different ways.
Yeah. The worst. Some advice that's really stuck with me. I completely forget where I read it. But it's the worst thing you can give an artist is endless free time. to create. Because if you just sit
yeah.
down and try to write all day, it's never going to work. What
listless.
experience are you drawing from? I think art should be, made in the throes of life, randomly jotted down a note, stopping everything in the middle of a storm to write your little song about what's going on and then continue it. There's no ever, finally now everything has calmed down and I have enough time.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write my song about the person that I met yesterday and the great conversation I had.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that mentality, this is another thing I always hear when people are asking me, how do I do it, make art? They're like, where do you get the time? It's like, what time do you think that you will have in your life that will be like, now it is art time? Even if you had endless free time, I think you need to be exercising the muscle of creativity by knowing that you can be creative at any time under any circumstance. I don't think that is like you should go and work a soulless, meaningless job that you hate every single second. But your mind isn't in prison. You can be creative at any moment. And I know that I've only ever been able to write when I am going about my life, and it usually is like I'll look back at projects that I've made and it'll be like reminding me, here's where I was in the car driving like on this road trip or whatever, or I was at work in the back. Like most of Desire Drives a Dull Knife was written like at work at different times. And yeah, I think that's the other, it kind of comes out as an excuse. But then also, this was one of the things I was going to ask you separately, and then she basically just brought it up. I'm doing the Artist Way right now, which I'll talk about more later, like the book, whatnot. And there was a quote that she included that was, if you want to work on your art, work on your life. And I've been thinking about that quite a bit, of like, I will recognize in a way I don't really understand when it's like, I need to get some more life under my belt right now in order for me to be able to access this like well of creativity. Like I can't be like, time to access the well. It's like I can tell that if I'm neglecting other parts of my life, it's not going to be flowing as easily. And that's even like the reason that I like went and got like a sociology degree and went and did all of these other, pursuits that don't necessarily have to do with my music or my art or whatnot, because I think that I intend to live a very rich and full life, and I think that does aid your creativity. I wanted to see if you think that you do something similar, or if you have any other thoughts on that.
Yeah, I've been like kind of preaching this in especially MPU for a couple of years. I said this a lot. I was part of the songwriting workshop that we had. But
cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was me, Ashton, Kate Armstrong, and Asa, and Jack and Zane presented.
Cool.
So it was really
cool.
fun. But yeah, what I've been preaching kind of for a while now is this ceaselessness of identity.
Yeah.
You're not just an artist when you're writing a poem. You're not just an artist when you're playing the guitar or singing or performing or practicing.
Right.
You're an artist in every breath you take, in every rest that you take from practice, and every other thing you do to learn more, and every book you read to learn another word to throw in your song, in every show you go to. You must do it as an artist. You must read as an art. You must live as an artist. Go to class as an artist. Yeah. It's an entire, truly way of life, at least for me, because I think that is how this just kind of comes to you. It's not just de-abstracting this and like, I'll just sit down and write a poem. It is like, it's not that big of a deal for me to sit down and write a poem because I was never not an artist. This is all a continuous thing. One of the chefs I used to work with, Duncan, told this to me, is that he said, a creative person can't be an audience. And I strongly disagreed with him at that time. I was like, I've taken so much inspiration from seeing all these people around me, and like, of course you can still do that. And as I've been focusing more and more on my art and my creation, I realized what he means. And it's that you can be in the audience. You know, you can go to shows, and of course, that's what participating in everything is. Of course you're going to read, of course you're going to listen. This is what's fun about seeing what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
But you don't do it as an audience member, you do it as an artist.
Okay.
I'm going to this show, I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to be part of this. This is going to fuel me. This is going to inspire me. I am ready to receive this in the way that will be most conducive to my creativity and my inspiration, my continuation as an artist. I'm not going there to be the audience and the consumer of the product. No, I know so much more about what's going on here. I have a completely different engagement with this than just kind of like, oh, sitting back and being entertained. No, this is like an active kind of like grasping of whatever you can and pulling from it this inspiration and this devotion. So I really do think that it is this overarching almost way of life. At least you can just view everything that you do in terms of how an artist would do it, about how you being an artist would do it.
I think I partially agree. I think I would say that going to these shows and like regarding other art both as an artist and an audience would be more beneficial to you and more beneficial in general. I think I guess the only thing that I disagree with on that is if you start looking at every artist inspires every other artist, right? And obviously this is like a wavelength that you can join, the collective like creative consciousness. And so I think it is really common and really helpful to be like regarding other artists in this way that's like, how will this, you know, how can I learn from this? But I think if you're only regarding other people's art through the lens of how will this improve me as an artist, you will miss so much. And I think if you're only regarding it as another method of self-actualization, I think you will miss something that is being communicated solely by just observing the artist and their art and the relationship that they have with it. Like, I think that could make you reduce it very quickly to being like, what do I have to learn from this? And sometimes I don't know if it is a process of learning more, you know, and accumulating that knowledge for yourself.
Yeah, I think I'm not saying to not, like, listen. You know, you don't have to be sitting there thinking, oh, what chords are they playing? But it's like, oh my God, this artist is so amazing. Why are they so amazing?
Yeah.
This is like the connection. It's like, you know, you still have, of course, like, you view them, and this is what's great, is to be like, oh man, that person's good. But I think it really is powerful to immediately, like, I don't know, be paying attention, to be really sensitive to why things are good, why things are bad. This is your expression as that. It's not just like, oh wow, they're really good, this is so fun. It's like, wow, like, this is, you know, I think you just, like, this is really, really good. Why does this stick out from everything else I've heard? Like, this is so remarkable. I think it's picking up on those special moments, and I think it's actually a much more kind of deep, focused connection to the art. It's not saying, like, you're intellectualizing all of it. It's still even being more emotionally sensitive to it. Why does this compel me so much more, right? Like, I listen to my favorite records, and they just have this, you know, inexplicable, like, impact on me. And it's like, why is that? What's going on about this? And with these albums, you just listen to over and over and over again to try to figure that out. And maybe you won't, but I still think that engagement as an artist is completely different. This devotion as, like, an artist continuously is something that changes your view, surely. But I do think it is really important to do. I think it does speak a lot to this kind of way of life. I think if you excuse yourself from being an artist and excuse yourself from this active, kind of ceaseless, like, grasping of life, you know? You're in your part-time job, you're not going to be doing it as just a worker. You're still going to be doing that as an artist. What am I going to learn here? How could I express this poetically, right? You should always be ready to, I don't know, drop a poem, write a song, something like that. It's something that's like constantly practicing, no matter what you're doing. And so that's what I mean. You're not just going to, like, sit back and go, oh man, what chords are they playing? Oh yeah, it's a great like flat 4. It's like, no.
That's not what I meant by that. Just as in, I think that the first step, I think, would be being the audience and being the receptacle, and then I think I think that the analysis would be afterwards in an ideal situation. I think it's hard to. I think if you're
semantics at that point.
Not really. Not really, because I think that if you go into it immediately with the idea that you are not the audience and that you are the artist, then you're going to start cherry picking, and taking what does and doesn't apply to what you want your artistry to be, and I think you could possibly miss a lot. So I do think the order matters, and I think there's so much value in like joy you can get of just being a receptacle at first for this beautiful piece of art.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. I think that's just kind of semantics of what that actually means. But I still think if you are really focused on experiencing this, that is still being an artist. You're not just kind of passively being entertained.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. You are really focused and engaged with this work. I think in a way that a lot of people who are just, I'm just going to a show, whatever, I'm going to drink with my buddies and hang out. That's great too. But I think if I'm going to focus on the music and listen really intently. This is an artistic, focused pursuit. That's, know, this can mean a lot, but, I'm not saying you're cherry picking at all, whatever, but it just, I think that kind of, like, focus, that kind of attention placed on music is what I mean, is in being an artist. You're not gonna, at least I go to shows, I don't focus on my friends that I go with. I often go alone because I know I'm just going to ignore people because I want to see the music and I want to focus on that. And I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do about it. I just get distracted. We were walking around New York for spring break and there was just all the jazz guys playing and I just got like stopped in my tracks. And I stood there for like an hour and I could have cared less. But I'm just like, sorry, this is so amazing. Yeah. I think that's what I mean. I was a complete, audience. I was just watching them, but I was so focused, nothing else really mattered. This is what I mean. This is the constant devotion to it.
Yeah, I would think the other, like negative effect of only viewing yourself as the audience member is that I think you would immediately create like a divide between like I think that's why I will have people be like, I could never do that.
Exactly.
Or I wish I could do that. And it's like, what is really that different about you and me, though? And I appreciate, like, getting... I guess I'm using myself as the example just because I hear that, like, enough that it disheartens me a lot and makes me, like, think more broadly about creativity. But I think that, especially with people who are, like, really established artists, it's, like, immediately viewing yourself as the audience and not that you have something to learn or that you see something similar in yourself. It's like you're like, well, those are the talented people of the world and I am not one of them. Or those are even more than talented, those are the artists of the world and I'm not one of them. And that's just like a weird conception that I feel like we didn't always have and have only developed more and more and more as music has become more like monetizable. Because then that, if that's your job, that becomes your identity. And then if you're not making money off of it or it's not the focus of your life, then you think, I'm not an artist then. And that's weird to me. I don't think that's true.
Yeah, exactly. That's also why I think Duncan was really right about not being the audience, is because then I think you get stuck there. Yeah. Yeah, it is something that I really initially disagreed with, but this is at least how I've come to understand, because I'm like, I learned so much from going to shows, but it's like, well, I don't know, but it is something different. It's like I stand among them. You can just imagine that you are on an equal playing field as them. You play music for a year and you go see a band that's also probably done the same. Yeah. You can't just look at them as amazing because they just happen to be on stage right now and you're not. Yeah. This is just kind of circumstance. You can go up to them, oh yeah, I'm a musician too. Maybe they won't care, but maybe they'll see you later and go, oh yeah, that's the guy. Yeah. You can just speak to them as equals. Like, hey, I'm doing this project. Do you want to help me with it? Do you want to work on this? What'd you do there? You can just imagine yourself as they're equal.
Oh, 100%. That's what I started doing in the last couple years. Why I've started getting into, I've been doing a lot more interviews with other artists, and have been, like reaching out. Like when I interviewed like Machine Girl or like Quiet Light or whatever this year. I think the format of my interview surprised both of those specific people, which in a way was kind of sad because they told me like I was expecting like personal questions, like tabloid questions basically. I was like, why would I do that as like the representative of like KZSC or like Rambler? I'd be like, so do you have a boyfriend? Like, I don't know why that would ever be the interview in the first place, but I guess that's what artists are often used to, like artists who are whatever in like the popular sphere of music is getting asked some bullshit basically. But both of those ended up being these long conversations about creativity, especially my interview with Quiet Light, where I was worried that by referencing myself as a musician or being like, you know, when I do this thing, this is what I do, and I've noticed that you do this thing, like what's your approach to that, etc. I was worried that that would come across as me interjecting myself and like trying to like sly promote my music or something, but I was really thrilled that it was not interpreted as such, and then it became like just a conversation between like an artist who admired another artist. And I don't know, I think that I realized very quickly that the reason I wanted to do that is because I feel like I have so much to learn from other artists that I can and often do pick up just by, you know, listening to their music and like studying it or whatnot, but I want to hear it from the source. And why I also started this segment is like I want to hear it from the source. And I think that, yeah, I think any person who wants to make art and, you know, then start calling themselves an artist has to kind of level themselves with the other people that they deem the artists and be like, we are really not very different. And, you know, I'm gonna suspend my own, you know, value judgments of my art and how talented I think I am, and literally just be like, okay, I make art, you make art. We are equal in that way. And obviously that goes further into being like, stop idolizing people and whatnot, but also just for your own sake, stop inhibiting your own art by thinking that every artist is more talented and better than you. Yeah, you can have some. I know you want it.
Yeah, right, if you would approach those interviews as someone just asking them tabloid questions, it would have been perfectly reasonable if you weren't an artist.
Yeah.
What do you know about creativity? You're probably going to ask, you know, oh, I'm an audience. I don't know anything about art. I'm just a dumb kid. What am I going to ask you about? What's your creative process? This means nothing, right? If you get to, you're an artist. This is, the questions you're asking are going to be, how do you approach songwriting? How do you approach lyrics? You know, why don't you rhyme?
Yeah.
Something like, you know.
I was asking Matt from Machine Girl, like, so what do you use on Ableton? And he was like, I go into the presets on Wavetable. It was really funny.
Huge. And this is what it means to connect with them.
Yeah.
This is why it's so great to be an artist. What pedals are you using? Oh yeah, I hate that one.
Yeah.
I saw this band Public Circuit in New York, and it was they were running some crazy synths, and I was just like, it was all hidden, and so I had to go look at it, and I was like, oh, you got the 404, let's go. He was running a 404 through guitar pedals, and then this other guy just had a bunch of what is it? I forget. Okay. He just had a bunch of synths, and I was just so obsessed with it, because this is what I've spent years learning about. You get to ask guitarists about their pedals, and everybody about the machines they use, why they use it. That's what's like so fun to talk about. Yeah. It's so refreshing. To meet someone who's just as passionate as you. There's nothing better, I think, than finding someone else who shares your extreme passion and background of knowledge. Yeah. I could explain to anyone why all my microphones are cool, why it's interesting, why I've set up my studio in this way, and why I really like it and think it's great. And they could know nothing about it, and it would probably be pretty interesting if they wanted to learn. And they would go, oh, that's really cool, like, thanks for teaching me. But it's not until I talk to, like, Griffin around here, and we just nerd out about microphones for hours, that I'm like, this is something special.
Yeah.
this is the special conversations to be having as two people just so far gone into some field where you actually get to do something interesting. You're not just explaining to people, and of course those conversations are great to have. It's fun to connect with those around you, even if they know about different stuff, of course. But there is nothing better than connecting people on like that exact same level about something you're really passionate about. So I think that's what's great about you being able to interview them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we have like a conclusion you need?
No, I don't think so. Any other supplemental information I will do like a voiceover on, but
I love America.
Don't say
Bob
that.
Dylan is the best artist of all time.
I'm not putting I love America
Elon Musk
on.
looks like a turtle.
That's true.
I don't know how to surf, but I do know how to skateboard. I don't speak Japanese, but I do speak Chinese.
No, you don't.
Don't believe in dogma, believe in me. Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
Show me the money.
Show me the money. Lemons are good, oranges are better. A pluot a day keeps the doctor away. There's my supplement. There's my supplemental information.
Thank you, Ryan Marienthal, for that illuminating interview. I will be cutting the part where you say I love America because that doesn't align with the beliefs of world peace.
I believe in world peace.
Please wait. Let me do the voiceover. Please be advised that not every opinion expressed on this show reflects the opinions of the UC Regents or the UC system. For more information, go to 831-459. I don't remember the last digits. I hate America.
Fuck the Chancellor, fuck Jeffrey Armstrong, fuck Donald Trump, fuck Obama.
Fuck Jeffrey Armstrong.
Fucking whoever the UC Chancellor is, I don't even know him. Fuck him though. Fuck the UC Berkeley guy.
Fuck whoever took People's Park down.
Oh yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah. I think we can say that honestly. I'm in safe harbor hours.
Oh,
I don't think I could say fuck the Chancellor, but we could definitely say fuck the guy who took People's Park down.
Oh yeah, hey, shout out sex.
Yeah, shout out sex, drugs, and sex on drugs.
No, maybe not.
You don't get it.
I'm a proponent of world peace.
Yay!